Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to dive right into World Population Day and unravel the incredibly complex relationship between global population trends, resource consumption, and climate change. I am so excited to guide you through this material today because, let's face it, we constantly hear these dramatic headlines about how many people are on the planet. But the reality of what that actually means for our future is way more fascinating and, frankly, a lot more nuanced than just a simple head count.
Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the population milestone, then look at population and climate change, followed by the climate feedback loop, the pressure on global resources, rights and demographics, and finally, how humanity can thrive.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the population milestone, and tracing our growth to 8 billion.
So every year on July 11th, the world observes World Population Day. It's an international awareness day officially established by the UN back in 1989. And why then? Well, it was created right after the global population hit 5 billion people in 1987, a number that really alarmed a lot of people at the time. The whole goal of this day is to encourage governments, researchers, and citizens like us to really take a hard look at how demographic changes shape our society. It's a great reminder that population isn't just about counting people, it's fundamentally about their rights, their opportunities, and the quality of life they can achieve.
Think about our growth over the past 2 centuries for a second. It has been absolutely extraordinary. We skyrocketed from just 1 billion people in the early 1800s to a massive 8 billion by 2022. I mean, it took humanity all of recorded history to reach that first billion, and then just a couple of centuries to add 7 billion more. But here is the fascinating part that almost always gets missed in the headlines. Even though the global population is still increasing, current projections show the rate of growth has actually slowed down considerably today. Fertility rates have declined in many parts of the world, which means we are firmly on a path towards stabilization later this century.
Moving right along to Section 2, population and climate change, and the core debate.
It's the question you hear everywhere, right? Does population growth cause climate change? It feels like a really natural assumption to make. More people means more demand for energy, food, fresh water, housing, and transportation. And if those demands are being met using fossil fuels, then greenhouse gas emissions are going to go up. But is it really that simple? Does population growth alone cause climate change? Or is the scientific reality a whole lot more complex?
Well, it turns out that raw population numbers do not automatically equal environmental impact. Imagine 2 completely different countries that happen to have the exact same population. You might think their carbon footprints would be similar, right? But they can be vastly different. The difference really comes down to factors like per capita energy use, industrial activity, transportation systems, and building efficiency. If one country relies heavily on renewables and efficient public transit, and the other runs on heavy fossil fuels and generates massive food waste, their environmental impacts are going to be worlds apart. It just proves that consumption patterns and energy sources matter so much more than raw numbers.
Let's just completely nip this myth in the bud right now. Overpopulation alone does not cause climate change. In reality, a relatively small share of the global population is responsible for a disproportionately massive share of historical emissions. Climate change primarily results from greenhouse gas emissions, and those depend heavily on our energy systems and public policy. So, sustainable development actually requires reducing high-emission lifestyles. Simply put, how we live matters far more than how many of us there are.
Which brings us to Section 3, the climate feedback loop, and how this is totally a two-way street.
The relationship between population and climate totally works in both directions. Climate risks are already affecting billions of people. We're seeing longer, more intense heat waves that increase mortality and overwhelm health systems. Floods and sea level rise are damaging homes, particularly for millions living in coastal regions. Droughts are threatening our food production, and wildfires are forcing entire communities to pack up and relocate. All of this environmental degradation is driving massive internal and cross-border climate migration. So the climate doesn't just respond to population size, it actively reshapes where and how human populations can even survive.
Now for Section 4, pressure on global resources. We're looking beyond just the numbers.
Population growth is super heavily linked to urbanization. Today, more people live in cities than in rural areas, and that trend is only speeding up. Now, cities are incredible hubs for economic development, healthcare, and innovation for sure, but poorly planned urban expansion, that's dangerous. It leads to terrible air pollution, major housing shortages, and intense heat islands. To mitigate all of this, we absolutely have to invest in efficient public transit, green buildings, and smart infrastructure to make our growing cities sustainable.
And naturally, a growing urban population means a much higher demand for food. But producing enough food to feed our growing population is really only half the battle. Hunger today is usually driven more by poverty, conflict, inequality, and bad distribution than by actual global food production limits. To meet our demand sustainably, we desperately need solutions like climate-smart agriculture, improved irrigation, and sustainable fisheries. And honestly, reducing food waste and implementing better soil management are absolutely crucial if we want to feed everyone without totally destroying the ecosystems we rely on.
Then there's water, the ultimate hidden casualty here. Freshwater availability is rapidly becoming one of our greatest global challenges. Population growth combined with climate change is putting immense pressure on our rivers, lakes, aquifers, and wetlands. We are literally drawing from these sources way faster than nature can replenish them. Solutions like water-efficient agriculture, rainwater harvesting, and wastewater recycling, they aren't just neat ideas anymore. They are necessary survival strategies for communities all over the globe.
Moving into Section 5, Rights, Demographics, and the Human Element.
It is so incredibly important to understand that not every country is growing rapidly. We are seeing a stark demographic contrast across the globe. A lot of developed nations are actually facing declining fertility and aging populations, which brings about labor shortages and spiking healthcare costs. Meanwhile, lower-income countries continue to have relatively young, rapidly growing populations. This really highlights that there is absolutely no single, universal population policy that applies everywhere. Different demographic trends demand completely different public policies.
Because of these drastically different trends, modern population policy is not, and should not be, about coercion or imposing strict demographic targets. The scientific evidence clearly shows us that we get much better outcomes across all sustainable development goals when policy is rooted in fundamental human rights. Societies thrive when people have access to education, reproductive health care, voluntary family planning, gender equality, and real economic opportunities. When we empower individuals to make informed choices, we naturally support healthier populations while simultaneously reducing environmental pressures. It's a win-win.
Finally, Section 6, How Humanity Can Thrive and the Path Forward. Look, it can feel super overwhelming when we're talking about billions of people, but small actions become incredibly powerful when adopted by millions. Every single person can contribute to a more sustainable future. Conserving energy, taking public transport, reducing our food waste, recycling responsibly, and just making informed choices to support renewable energy and sustainable products, it all adds up. It reminds us that humanity's future depends not only on how many people live on Earth, but crucially, on how we choose to live our daily lives.
Which brings us to our final thought. As our global population continues to evolve and demographic patterns shift around the world, the most important question to ask yourself is no longer, how many people will there be? The real question, the one that is literally going to define our future, is this: how can humanity actually thrive within the Earth's ecological boundaries? The answer lies in science, global cooperation, and recognizing that creating a fairer, far more sustainable world is entirely within our grasp, if we just make the right choices today. So what choice will you make?